I'm going to go into the two different types, Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. First, I'm going to put this figure up here, right? This is 15.14. And what it is it's the comparison between Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. So as you can see on the left side, that is what a normal colon looks like, right? That's our normal large intestine. The intestinal wall is, it's thin enough as it is. In quotation marks in the second picture for Crohn's disease, there's what's called cobblestoning. So what happens is the inflammatory response, once the inflammation heals, it tends to have a cobblestone-like look, which ends up also thickening the walls. As our intestinal walls thicken in IBD patients, what happens is, it starts to create more obstructions, which of course is bad for waste, right? As we process waste and try to absorb nutrients and whatnot, blockages occur. The thickening of the wall is a result of, and the cobblestoning, of course, as I mentioned, it's an inflammatory response, that ends up, when they heal, they turn into what's called fibrotic tissue or fibrosis. So that fibrotic tissue is essentially scar tissue, right? That's a synonym for it. And that scar tissue thickens the walls and then you get blockage. So inflammation happens in both Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. But what happens with Crohn's though is the inflammatory responses are patchy, which explains the cobblestoning-like look. And also something else that can happen is fistulas. Fistulas are these it's this small tunnel-like connection between two parts of your body. It could also be between the bowel and bladder, right? Or it could even be bladder and skin. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what it is. It creates fistulas are these little tunnel-like pathways that essentially allows for, waste, fecal matter and all of that to leak out into places where they really should not be. Crohn's can affect any part of your digestive tract or any part of your GI tract, I should say. That being from your mouth all the way to your back end. About 75% of patients with Crohn's disease, they usually present with small intestine involvement. Ulcerative colitis is a little different, right? It's still an inflammatory response, but as you can see, the inflammatory response, so in the normal picture, the intestinal wall is already thin enough as it is, right? But with ulcerative colitis, the inflammatory response, those cytokines, they damage our intestinal mucosa so much that it ends up ulcerating the mucosa, right, and the intestinal wall. And so as you can see in this picture for ulcerative colitis, for UC, the intestinal wall is even thinner than the normal picture is, right? So it thins out completely, and oftentimes UC creates what's called a toxic megacolon. So I mean, the picture is pretty self-explanatory.